Love, that ever-flowing liquid fire of light, ever-expanding and illuminating truth, which is always revealed with wisdom, a spiritual nutrient necessary for vitality that is maintained through selflessness, a filter of ether that aids purity, which is love. Love, a limitless paper lantern floating into infinity on the intentions and actions of initiates of the mysteries. Okay, welcome everybody. We have a special guest today, Emma Benitez. Emma, how you doing?
I am great. How are you, Ross?
I'm doing well. I've stayed out of trouble and been busy all day, so I can't complain. Nobody would listen anyhow. It doesn't resolve anything anyhow, complaining. I like to start the show off normally by asking people what they're grateful for. Or I like to say what I'm grateful for normally. When I have people on, rather, I ask them what they're grateful for. So what are you grateful for, Emma?
I am grateful for life, my mental and emotional state, everything that I have experienced and everybody that's in my life. And it took me a while to realize that I can be grateful for even the negative. So yeah, everything. Being
Well,
alive.
no, that's very honorable. There's a lot of people that feel like they don't have anything to be grateful for.
Just human experience.
Mm-hmm.
And for you?
I don't know. You said everything, so I don't know that I can't say anything that doesn't overlap. Um, I'm grateful that I don't need anything right now. I have all my needs met. So
Yeah,
therefore, I'm grateful for having nothing needed.
right. That's a great one. It's all within ourselves.
Yeah, I have an abundance of abundance.
I love it.
So what quotes do you feel most moved by?
All right. I wrote them down because I knew I wasn't going to be able to recite it. Everything is energy, and that's all there is to it. Match the frequency of the reality that you want, and you cannot help but get that reality. It can be no other way. This is not philosophy. This is physics.
Wow.
Yeah.
Who said that?
I'm not quite sure. Yeah, I couldn't find the name. It's kind of a mysterious quote. I don't know. I'll research it after this.
I haven't heard that one before. I like it.
Yeah. And I just love the concept of everything is energy, or the fact, really, the scientific fact that everything is energy. And it just ties, like how it just ties in with spirituality so much. So that's kind of what I go by. And then the other one, everything happens for you, not to you, or through you. And I love that because I believe that we are here experiencing physical reality, and that you have the chance to turn everything that you experience into a positive thing or a negative thing. So it's your choice. You can either grow from that or not. And why wouldn't you want to take the opportunity to grow,
Mm-hmm.
So
No, that's definitely been my experience too. Like where I had situations that were some of the worst situations in my life, and I made myself miserable over them. And then at some point when it switched and I became grateful for them because of how much I learned from it, it's no longer like this 100-pound boulder I got to carry. It's like having a boulder turned into a balloon, and it's just like, you know what I mean? Everything's what you perceive it to be, and there's so much wisdom and power in that.
yeah.
Those
Yeah.
are both good quotes.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I love quotes. I have so many, so it was hard to choose two.
Yeah, I have a hard time choosing 2 a day. Like,
Yeah, I know.
I'm
I
like, but
write
there's
them I write them
thousands.
down all the time. They're all over my walls.
That would be cool to have like a room with like just quotes as wallpaper.
Yeah. In my studio, I have sticky notes and a bunch of writings on my in front of my desk, so I'm constantly looking at it and reminding myself. So that's a tool that has helped me.
No, that's a good way to do it because then you're programming your conscious and also your subconscious in ways with what you put up there.
Yeah, exactly.
It's kind of like what I did with my one painting thing where it's like the pieces connect and they all have symbols, and the symbols mean different things to me. So it's like, I don't remember what they all mean, but theoretically it could still subconsciously help me.
Yeah, yeah. I actually saw someone that um, was made a painting that had a specific intention behind it, and you look at it and you meditate on it, and I love that concept. So I think I'm going to do that eventually, because usually I just have a more broad intention, but I like the idea of a specific intention, putting that with an image and then meditating on that image.
No, there's definitely power in that. I mean, they say a picture is worth 1,000 words. So I think that there's a lot of truth in that. You can put a very deep concept through in symbolism.
Hmm.
Okay. So you said that you like to paint as well, and I know that from talking to you a little bit before. Explain who you are and what you do in whatever way you feel comfortable.
Um, I find it so hard um, answering the question, "Who are you?" And not because I don't know who I am, because just because I feel like I am so much. But
Hmm.
um, I guess the label that I like to use is artist, and that's with my painting, but that's even with my life too. I think we all are artists, so I guess that's what I identify as. And right now, I am painting full time and trying to make my dream a reality, of being an artist, a full-time artist, and um, expressing myself and spreading the message that I want to spread through my art.
No, and that's awesome. And I think that your art's definitely going to have a big impact on people, even if they don't know what you're trying to convey with the pictures. Because even without knowing what your approach is, of the things that I've seen of yours, it what's the word I'm looking for? It radiates like positive vibes and like good energy overall.
Yeah.
And I think that there's a quote by Terrence McKenna, and he's talking about like how do we stop culture from overtaking us and ruining us. And he says, "You make art, like," and that's I think where the real revolution starts. I mean, it's internalized, but then it's outwardly expressed through creativity, and that's what people need to do. And
Yeah.
everybody is artistic. It's people kick it out of themselves and then they base it upon, well, I'm not like Picasso or I'm not like this person. And it's like, no, you're
There's no
you.
comparing. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Everybody gets so hung up, and I even did, on comparing. And it's literally, it's just expression. You don't have to look at it as good or bad. And people, um, always think that way. I think Picasso actually said that we are all artists. Every child is an artist. I forget the exact quote, but he said that um, basically it's up to you whether you stay that way or not.
Mm-hmm.
So,
I think he had a quote too where he said, when you feel like you don't paint, that's when you need to paint. Basically, like when you feel like you can't paint, that's when you.
yeah, yeah, that's a great one.
Oh, there's so much wisdom in that. And it's like, that's such a reality. Like people are creators and they can either create a bunch of misery about their inability to create things and they're still creating something, or they can create something they can share with people.
Yeah.
It's just a
I
matter of what they focus on.
Yep, I agree. Actually, I'm constantly writing, like not continuous like paragraphs, just like thoughts here and there that just pop into my head, and then eventually I want to kind of put them all together. Um, but a thought that I wrote down the other day that I had was that imagine a generation of people that were brought up not thinking, oh, this is reality, like settle, this is how things are. Instead of that, what if they were taught you are a co-creator of this reality? Like you have that ability because we
Hmm.
are. So I think that would be pretty amazing if we could raise a generation to believe that.
That would be amazing. I mean, in one sense, it's like in the first one where you're in reality, you're like the screaming face in that one painting where the hands are slapped up to his face and you're like stuck in the painting. And the other one where you're the co-creator, you're the hand drawing itself that's drawing the hand drawing itself,
Yeah.
kind of.
Yep.
That's a really cool concept. I would like to see that too. I think that it's leading more towards that, or leaning more towards that overall.
I I agree because people are waking up and realizing that we have a direct influence over our reality. And so when these people that are realizing this become parents, then we could raise kids to feel that way. And that is like the most powerful thing ever.
No, absolutely. Empowering the youth is probably one of the most important things that people could do. I mean, it's important for adults to empower themselves and help other people, but the longevity of our species and the continuity of it's dependent upon how the youth come up. And I kind of feel like in many ways, things have to get bad before they get better, and things have gotten pretty bad and they're starting to get better. I mean, I think it'll balance out at some point.
Yeah, I agree. Um, I think of Teal Swan we when that conversation comes up about how things are gonna have to get bad for everyone to realize that wow, things really need to change. I always think like we could have evolved anyway as species, as humans, and this is what we chose. Like
Mhm.
this society is what we built, what we decided to live by. I think it could be so much better, so why wouldn't you want to work towards a better way of living?
Yeah, I mean, I look at that on like a personal level. Personally, for me,
Yeah.
like I had to be miserable before I could progress. And even if you look at it like an evolutionary standpoint, things don't tend to evolve to the next level until they're faced with a challenge to where they have to, because things take the path of least resistance. Like
Hmm.
stepping up to the plate and taking accountability for yourself and co-creating reality, that's a hell of a responsibility,
It
especially for like a former like lazy stoner like me. Like cleaning my bong was like a big
is.
accomplishment. So it's like, as a species, that's like a pretty big task, but I
Yeah,
think
but
we're doing it.
we were taught that way. You know what I mean? Like,
That's fair. It's learned behavior.
yeah.
It goes back to that whole concept of like having to break the flow of I'm trying to think of a way to word it, but there's like this inertia from our ancestors that comes up with how things are, like the trickle down effect of
Mhm.
life and trauma and culture shapes how people are. So it's like breaking that and rerouting it, or like using that flow to go a different direction, I guess.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
have to listen to that Teal Swan interview on the Positive Head podcast. I haven't listened to it.
Oh, it's a good one. And then after that one, I watched a few of her YouTube videos and other interviews, and they're pretty powerful.
I'll have to check that out.
I'll send you some after this. There are two videos of Teal Swan that really impacted me, so I'll send them to you.
Awesome. No, I'd like that. I like how you said that you're an artist too. I think that a lot of people, when they get the concept artist, they just think of like a painter, but it's such a broad term. Like
Hmm.
art can apply to music, to poetry, to sculpting, to a variety of
And
things.
even business, like something so left brained, like it's just more logical, like, version of art, or, and art, like writing and painting, is more based on emotion, so I think art can go both ways, always.
That's definitely a good way. I mean, art really is kind of the paint spilling off of the canvas in many ways, so it really can bleed into anything. It's just a matter of how people want to approach it. I mean, and it goes into the concept of one man's art is somebody else's garbage or
Yeah.
whatever too. So it's like whatever you want it to be.
Yep.
And that goes into the co-creator of reality thing in lots of ways as well. It all ties into a neat little package.
Yep.
um, did you feel that you were different than other people growing up?
I liked reflecting on this question. Yes. I always felt different. I was always so. I always say the education system I did not thrive in the education system. My brain is not wired in that way. So I need a whole different style of learning. I need to teach myself through just different techniques. And so I always struggled in school. And then I put that on myself. I was like, there's something wrong with me because nobody else is struggling this hard, And I just always felt things so much more deeply and emotionally, I think. And then also I remember I was thinking about how even with my clothes, like I always used to want to dress so much differently and express myself, but I didn't because I was scared of being judged, or I was scared of being different. I wanted to be like everybody else. And so but I knew I wasn't, so that kind of tortured me because I would put on these clothes to go to school that were so like different and unique, and like I would have like Spanish looking outfits and punk looking outfits, like I was all over the place, but I didn't wear any of it because I was so scared.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so basically the way I wanted to express myself was different, and the way I always said that my mind works so differently than other people, and I've always felt that way, and I still do, but now I'm connecting with people who are similar.
No, I definitely get it. I always felt different too. And school isn't created in a way where it's really meant to teach kids how to think. It teaches them to regurgitate things.
Yeah.
And I like how you said that you like to self-teach. There's a word for that, and the word's so cool. It's autodidact. That's where like you teach yourself stuff. It's such such a cool word.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm not a dumb person, but I did not do well in school because it was so boring.
Yeah.
And I mean, I tried to fit in with people because I wanted to hang out with people, but it's something that like I'm just coming into now where I can be myself and feel comfortable with it. And it's being different is such a good thing, but we're told that it's a bad thing because if you're different and you don't follow the herd, you're not easily controlled as other people, I guess.
Yeah.
Just from like a social engineering standpoint. And I mean, plus if you're not part of a group, groups usually look at you as opposition to them, even if you agree, even if like, I don't really care what you do, just be decent. They're like, we're going to burn you, witch. Not that that's ever happened to me.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't even know why I wanted to be, like, where that all rooted from.
Probably just your soul.
Yeah. Well, no, I mean, why I wanted to be like everybody else. And I don't know, I guess that is learned behavior and things that I picked up on. I'll save that for the question that's gonna come, but
Okay.
never mind. We can move on.
Um, so I think that your thing that you were going to say is going to go into this question. So we'll see. When did you first notice you were different and in what situation?
Oh, okay. Well, actually, it's the next question after that, the superpowers thing.
Okay.
I always felt that I was intuitive and kind of an empath. Like I just felt people, and I just picked up. I was really into psychology because I was very aware of other people, but it's funny because I wasn't really aware of myself. And then I learned that later on. But I don't remember a specific time where I noticed that I was different. It was just kind of my whole conscious life
Mm-hmm.
from the early, like kindergarten, or as far back as I can remember, when I was like, wow, this school thing is not for me and everybody else is, you know?
Mm-hmm. That makes sense. I mean, it's kind of like when you're in the middle of something, you don't notice that you're in the middle of it. Like later on, you can be like, "Oh, now I see that was the middle of that situation." Like you can define something outside of it better than you can within it.
Mm-hmm.
That
Yep.
makes sense. Um, so what superpowers do you possess, or what superpowers would you want to have?
Um, I think I would definitely want to be able to fly. Yeah.
That would
Uh,
be awesome.
yeah. I don't think I was thinking before, like, would I want to be psychic and be able to tap into all of that? Maybe, but um, yeah, I would love to fly and just feel small and humble. um, but what power would you have, or do you have?
Um, as far as what I do have, I would say I have healing powers, and my concept of that used to be substantially different than what it is. I used to think I could I didn't used to think I could. I used to think people with healing powers could like wave their hands and like heal wounds or stuff like that. And I don't know that people can. I mean, I don't know that that's doable, or I don't know most things. But as far as the way the mind works is through lived experience and sharing my story and what I've been through, if people are receptive to it, they're able to learn something from that and potentially heal emotional blockages or things like that, in my perspective. And some people like, that's just you giving yourself a superpower based off something. And it's like, yeah, but I think that that's legit too. Like,
Yeah, I can relate to that feeling.
yeah, I think that a lot of people really can when they've been through stuff, and when their heart's in the right place. And that kind of concept is key in shamanism. And I think that that's kind of what shamanic healing is in some ways, is that like they've been through those dark situations and they can kind of tie people into what that means from being on the outskirts of culture. They can kind of help people that are still within culture in it more integrate these kind of weird, tricky areas of life better.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. And as far as what I would want, muscle mimetics. And what muscle mimetics is, it's like if I saw somebody playing something on the guitar, like let's say it was like I watched a video clip of Jimi Hendrix doing this solo. I could just do that solo without ever practicing it or anything like
That'd
that.
be amazing.
That would be so cool.
Yeah, that would be great.
I would do like the scene from The Matrix where I'd be like, I know Kung Fu.
No, seriously, yeah, that'd be crazy.
I heard somebody say that once, and I've been infatuated with that concept before, like since then.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. You saying the Matrix just reminded me that I just recently, I think it was in one of the Positive Head podcast episodes, that matrix is the Latin word for womb or mother. And I thought that was the trippiest thing. Isn't that crazy?
Yeah, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I mean, it makes sense. I'm sure that I've heard it used in that term before, but I never had it explained as such. That's
Yeah.
really interesting to me.
I know, right? I've been thinking about that for the past couple days.
I watched this documentary on YouTube where this gentleman explained the symbolism in the trilogy. It's like 2.5 hours long, the documentary of him explaining it. And then I watched all those movies again. That's such a trip when you have the symbolism broken down. I'm like, whoa, like
Yeah.
stopping and rewinding stuff. Those
Yeah.
movies are deep.
Yeah. I've only seen the first one. But yeah, pretty crazy stuff.
They're making a fourth one too.
Oh, I didn't know
I just saw something about it recently. Sorry, I get like nerd out on that. I'm like, yeah.
that.
What circumstances do you feel shaped your life?
um, well, that's a hard one because like just to choose the ones to talk about. Because I think every little tiny thing helped shape who I am right now. Like every single person I've met and every little thing I've experienced.
Explain all of them.
Yeah.
I said explain all of them.
We'll be here for forever. Um, but I think the major ones were kind of just experiencing just the way I grew up, having a beautiful childhood, but then growing up and going through really hard times with my family, and then really hard times with myself, where I was at a point that I was just so in the dark that I just didn't want to live. I I have felt that extreme low, and I think that has shaped me so much because I was able to come out of that and feel the exact opposite of purpose. And um, so I think that's a huge one. And I think the thing that got me out of that darkness, it was I was experimenting with mushrooms, and I had this one instance where I felt the most pure feeling of love. And how you said in the beginning how this huge rock or boulder that you're carrying on your shoulders, the weight of the world, it turned into a balloon.
Mm-hmm.
That's exactly how I felt. Like everybody's shit that I was picking up on was finally off of my shoulders, and I was like, wow, I am responsible for my happiness, and I have so much love in my life regardless of the shitty things that people in my life are doing, or and I can't have expectations and I can't rely on outside factors. So feeling so low, having that epiphany, and then ever since then I've been working on me, and so all of those moments.
No, those are things that I can all relate to. Not your specific circumstances, but I like how you said that everything brought you to where you are today. Like, because that's been true for me too. There isn't one thing that didn't shape me in some way, and that's true for most people. And it goes back to what you had said earlier about how it's either you can perceive it as good or bad. It's, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I can relate to like that low. Like I was there a couple times in my life.
Yeah.
Um, and I've had some really profound experiences on mushrooms. Like I don't do them anymore. I don't,
Mhm.
after being psychotic, I don't need to. Like I am drugs. I'm without doing anything. I'm like somebody on drugs. It's totally cool.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of value in those kind of substances. They're teachers. And seeing those things through that lens can really redefine reality, purpose, all those things.
Mhm.
So I relate to all that. I think that those are good topics. Not that I can say that they were bad or not. I'm not here to judge like what
Yeah.
your life changing moments, but I relate to those, I guess, is the key point. Um, what positive lessons did you learn from negative experiences?
um so yeah, basically kind of what I just said. Like I experienced such darkness that there was no other way to go, basically. Like, I mean,
Mhm.
I guess I'm lucky in the fact that I didn't want to kill myself. Like, I never wanted to take my life. But I just kind of didn't want to exist. So feeling that darkness and knowing I had to kind of make the choice, like, do I want to die or do I want to turn around, you know?
Mhm.
And I knew I didn't want to leave, you know, this planet. So my only way was up, you know? So,
No,
yeah.
that's real. I
And
have,
then,
sorry, go ahead.
um, and then I think maybe negative experiences with people, like being let down by people and learning that I can't have expectations on people. That was a really important lesson. And that everything, I think this is really important in my life, like everything that you see in someone else is a reflection of you. And then um like we are mirrors, but also like that person is going to do whatever they have to do on their path, and I can't judge or expect anything more from what they can consciously give or are aware of.
Hmm.
So yeah.
No, those are awesome things, and I can again relate to those as well. I think that people that kind of have similar experiences where they learn from those things, I think those are kind of like carryovers in lots of ways, where you had your individual experiences that shape them and how you perceive them. But like, I think those are real for a lot of people. Like a lot of people get that, and that's awesome. I mean, that's a cool thing to share with somebody where people can understand that.
I agree. Thank you.
No, thank you. It's nice. It's nice to hear similar things that I've been through. That way, I don't. I can like have humility about it, and
Yeah,
not be
no,
like I'm the smartest person ever.
I thrive on talking to people about all of this stuff. Like this is what it's about, you know, like connecting and relating and yep.
No, I agree completely. I don't get this much in my typical life. I mean, living in Ohio, um, there's not really many guys I can go up and talk to about this kind of stuff, and like I'm sure I could find some women to talk to, but at this point in recovery, I don't really talk to women that are around me just because I'm not focused on a relationship, and I'm still learning how to like just be friends with people. I don't even know how to be friends with.
Yeah, no, I understand. Um yeah, I
No,
understand.
it's nice to be able to talk about this stuff though. Like that's what it's about. Like I can't talk about sports or like I don't care about
Yeah.
that stuff. Like substance is what I want to talk about.
Yeah, as Brandon says, the ultimate nature of reality. So that's like my life, discussing that and, you know, learning and growing with people, you know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I like that. And I like discussing things that have like absolutely no relevancy to anything. Like over the summer, I was trying to convince one of my friends that I'm pretty sure that humans could fly. Like, and then I backed away from it. But then I'm like, well, maybe they still can, but just not how I perceive that they could. Like, I like to do like weird, like think about weird stuff like that, or like just turn
Yeah,
it.
question everything.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yep, I
I mean, I
question.
don't know. I don't, there's very few things that I know. Like, I don't even know that I'm real. I think that I'm real, but there's legitimately no proof that I am. And if like external sources, like, dude, yeah, no, that's very true. That they mentioned that in the Kabbalion, where it's like we're real, but we're also a dream. I mean, dreams are real in the sense that they actually happen in some way. So
Yeah,
how are they not real?
yeah. This conversation can go into that whole thing, like simulation theory, you know.
I have a hard time with that one, honestly. Like the simulation thing, because for me, the
Yeah.
way I perceive it is this: I think that it may have similarities to it, but who's to say that simulations don't mimic reality?
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
I think that it's perceived the wrong way, and they'll like use all these numbers and stuff like that, and it's like, that's probability, but there's still the probability, but that's incorrect.
Yeah. No, yeah, I totally resonate with that. And I think what I connect to, like um the ultimate nature of reality, like what the truth is, I really think that we are just collective conscious, and we have split up into these human bodies to experience physical reality, to experience life on earth as a human, you know, like we are spiritual beings having a human experience. I
Mhm.
really think that we are energy. So, and that collective energy, you know, it's crazy stuff.
No, I
It's
definitely think there's
plain.
validity in that. Have you ever heard the comedian Bill Hicks?
That sounds familiar, but I'm not sure.
He has this one thing where he talks about a man on acid, and he realized that we're all energy experiencing ourselves individually, and that there is no death and all this stuff. Like, I really think that that's so true. And in like a lot of my experiences with psychedelics or psychosis or even in recovery, I've had that connection where it's like, it has to be something more so like that. I mean, we do want to have the individual experience. Like, I'm like, I want to have the Ross Cessna experience.
Mhm.
Like,
Yeah.
that's what I signed up for, and there's no refunds on it. To quote Hunter S. Thompson, buy the ticket, take the ride.
Yep. It's a ride.
No, it's I think that's so true. And it's like, I did an episode called We Are God's Brain, and it's like we're individual cells of like this conscious thing. Like, if you look at it in a physical sense, I don't think that that's really what we are, but it's like we're like sense organs for this divine consciousness. Everything is, though.
Yeah.
That's the way I like to piece it together. It's not like I think like I'm a brain cell in some dude in the sky.
No, but that makes sense. I that makes sense to me.
I'm glad it makes sense to somebody else, because I haven't really bounced it off of many people. I don't really get the opportunity to talk about being a brain cell of God.
It's all hard to put into words, but I think the Positive Head podcast has helped me become more verbal about all of these concepts, and I'm getting better at explaining them each day, but it's still difficult, you know.
Yeah, it really is. And I mean, it's, even if you have the perfect words, it's difficult for people to understand because they only can understand from their level of perception.
Yep. Yeah.
I might have reversed that quote, but you know what I meant.
Yep, I know.
um, so where are we at? Okay, this one's kind of a fun question to break up some of the heavy lifting and deep thinking. I'll blow a fuse if I go on it too much. I like talking about it, but I can go too deep sometimes.
Yeah, same.
um, what songs or bands have lyrics that most resonate with you the most at this moment?
Um, this was really hard because I'm all over the place with music. I'm the type of person where I like every single genre, every time period, and I will go a week with just listening to the same thing over and over again. And then the next week I'll be listening to something completely different. Like I'll have different playlists that I jump around to, songs that I will listen to on repeat. Um, so I'm always changing, but right at this moment, I cannot stop playing the Portraits album by Marabou State. And it's not really a like lyric based connection. It's more of like a feeling that I get when I'm listening to the album, the tone of it and just the feeling. Um, I listen when I'm painting. I either listen to music and really meditate into it, or I listen to a podcast or YouTube videos or documentaries and listen to that while I'm painting. So yeah, I keep playing that album.
That's awesome. I've noticed that like a lot of the women that are on this podcast listen to stuff that isn't as lyrical, or they connect more with the music element of it more. And I wonder if it's my connection with the lyrics of just being like liking to write and writing a lot of lyrics and stuff, or what. That's just intriguing to me. I never thought of that before.
Yeah.
I think they're both valid. And
Yeah.
as I agree with you, like when I'm doing art or like when I'm making jewelry or something, I have to have something in the background because it like helps me get outside of me in some way, and then it kind of fuels like what I'm doing.
I agree. I agree.
It's a cool experience. It's like the soundtrack to my life, or this like the inspirational music that inspires what I'm doing or whatever.
Yeah, music is seriously it's so inspirational. It is like I feel like I do have a soundtrack to my life like all the time.
Hmm.
Yeah.
I used to want to create this invention that was like, I guess like modernized, it would be an app for a phone, but like when you walked into a room, you can set like a GPS thing. Then when you walked into a store, your phone would go off and play like a certain song
Uh-huh.
or something like that.
To literally give your life a soundtrack.
That would be so awesome.
Yeah, no, that would be cool.
um, this next question is kind of nebulous. What philosophy, spirituality, or religions do you find most aligned with your understanding? And please explain them as they apply to you.
Um, so for this, I think um, I don't identify with a specific, um, religion or specific way, but I look at the underlining meaning or theme. So in all the most enlightened beings that have ever walked the earth and beyond and who are living now, what can I learn from them? Like why wouldn't you want to learn from them? They are living life with such grace and peace. I think they are the people that we need to be learning from, and why do we need to choose one? And that's why I keep mentioning the Positive Head podcast, because he's constantly grabbing things from the Bible and different, religions, and putting it all together, and it just all makes sense. And then that tied along with science. I think science is so important. Like it just confirms everything.
Mm-hmm.
It's not confirming everything, but it's starting to, and it's all tying together how we are all connected and we're all energy. And I think my philosophy is just living life as positively as you can, you know?
That makes sense. Yeah, just kind of radiating good vibes.
Yeah, and being the best version of you that you can be. Like you always have the chance to keep growing and expanding your mind and all of that. It's just
Yeah, no, that's cool. I mean, that really is true. I had like this one concept like a couple weeks ago where I was thinking I was the highest version of myself, and then some stuff happened and I got humbled.
nope.
And I was like, okay, well maybe I'm like the middle version of myself. And you mentioning that now just gave me a thought too. Like if every situation fractals off into infinity based upon what choices we make, it's
Mhm.
physically impossible for me to ever be my highest self because there's always
Yeah.
going to be a higher version that fractals off. So it's like chasing the horizon,
Yeah.
basically. Like,
Yeah, no, seriously.
that's
There isn't an end.
mm-hmm.
um
Like an infinity shot in the camera or something.
yeah.
No, that's cool. Like that's one thing that like I really like about doing interviews and stuff like that with people is like they think about things in a way or they say things that like pollinates my mind so like new things can bloom. It's tiring to hear myself talk all
Yeah.
the time.
It's so great to hear other people's perspective of maybe the same thing or just, general idea of what you are feeling, because then more things start clicking into place.
Mm-hmm.
So I agree.
No, I get it. Yeah, I like too how you talked about like there being a lot of truth in like a lot of different religions, and how Brandon kind of uses that like buffet style to pick out like the good stuff and then present it that way. For me, it's like there's so much extra dogma and unnecessary stuff in a lot of religions, where the key concept in most of them is love, love of yourself, love of other people. And the things that it talks negative about are love spelled backwards, which this is like a play on words, but evil, EVOL. I mean, I know it's EVIL, but it's like, and evil really is just not being loving. It's not loving yourself, or loving yourself too much, not loving other people. It's like a trip, you know?
Yeah.
It really is simple though. So simple that people gotta confuse it.
Yeah. Well, I think actually I wrote this down and I don't think I will be able to find it, but I listened to an Abraham video the other day, and she said, or they said, that it is so easy that I'm going to kill this, but it's so easy that we are tricked into thinking that it's so difficult. You know, like the point of life and the concept of love is so easy, but we make it so difficult.
No, that definitely is true. I mean, in NA they say it's a simple program for complicated people, and they talk about how things are easy but not simple, and it's like, yeah. That's so true, because it'll be like this one thing and then people add all this extra stuff. I mean, even like a physical example that would be, I left the area where I live now in 2006 to like find myself, find my happiness, connect with who I wanted to be. This fall, I realized that I spent 11 years of my life looking for myself, trying to find myself, and I found myself where I left. Like, and it's like, I made this so complicated, but I had to go that way. But it's like, it's funny how that is though.
Yeah. And they say life is a spiral. Like, we are constantly revisiting situations. Yeah, we learn from them. We're higher and higher each time, but you know, it's still cyclical.
That makes sense. It's kind of like a Fibonacci sequence too. I never thought of that before either, the spiral element of that.
Yeah. You should watch, if you haven't, Inner Worlds, Outer Worlds. It's on YouTube and it's on Gaia TV. I think you would really appreciate it.
Yeah, I'll have to. I need to start watching more documentaries. I need to start feeding my mind more. Like, I'm so busy with doing stuff sometimes. Like, I read a little bit each night, but no, if you send me a link or remind me, I'll check it out.
Yeah, I'll send you it.
I'd like to maybe converse about it afterwards too, since like that's kind of how your art is too, is like sacred geometry and all that stuff.
Yeah, and my art is literally my intention of life. So yeah, it all ties together.
Well, that's awesome. This next question actually fits with that too. What do you perceive as your life's purpose?
My life's purpose is to live my truth and to be the most loving, peaceful version of myself that I can be. Because I realized this the other day. I kind of had like two major awakenings. One was letting go of everything that the people in my close circle were doing to themselves or to me, or, you know, like letting those expectations go. And then I had an existential crisis, like, oh my God, now the world, not only are people close to me not the greatest, but this world is like, so like there's so much darkness, you know. I think it's my purpose to be light, like light can drive out the darkness. So if we all choose that path, eventually the darkness, you know, won't be so dark. So it's my purpose to be an artist of light, of life and light and love.
No, that's awesome. I think that that's really like the only noble purpose really is in that pursuit. And it's like, I like how you said too about like light and the dark. The thing that's interesting about light versus dark is like dark runs from light basically. And if you have one little pinprick of light in dark, it's not as dark as it was. Dark doesn't have the same ability. Like dark can't squash light the way that light can push out dark. I always found that fascinating in lots of ways.
Yeah, it is fascinating.
Um, so since you have the purpose of spreading light, this is going to be interesting response. I have a feeling. What do you need to do to feel that you are working towards the goal of spreading light and love and all that stuff?
Um, well, again, doing what I love every day and having the most self-awareness that I can and learning for myself and others so I can learn how to spread that unconditional love to everybody that I come in contact with, you know. And it's hard because we're taught to just put up all of these walls, and I had so many walls, and I don't want any more walls, you know. I just want to be. And so just to basically to create art, because that is my that is how it's so hard to explain, but like I literally meditate on my intention of life with my art. So my art is like my life force and my breathing. So without it, it's like I don't have me, you know?
Oh, that's beautifully put. I mean, even the way that you express it is like art for my ears.
Oh, thank you. It's so difficult to put into words.
No, I get it though. Like, I mean, my biggest healing in my life came when I reconnected with art, when I reconnected with doing music, when I connected with that stuff, because
Yeah.
that energy is going to be there one way or another. And it's how I channel it, or how anybody channels that stuff that that really makes the difference. And when you can create something that's channeling that love that you feel. I mean, for me, it's like if I hold on to some of that stuff, I feel like it would sour inside of me if I didn't have a way to project it.
Mm-hmm.
But then I can put it on something and share it with other people, and that energy radiates out to other people. And
Yeah.
that's awesome. I mean, your gift is more precise in what you're doing. And I think that you have the ability to impact so many people with that. And I think that's amazing. Like,
Thank you.
oh, you're welcome.
Thank you. That makes me feel good. Um,
You should feel good. You have a great gift, you know? So like,
yes, thank you. I fought against it so long for a really long time. And so, to be honest, it's very, well, you know, it's been very recent since I let go of, you know, a lot to do it.
I think that's one of the reasons why you and I connected, is that I can just kind of relate to that experience of wanting to move forward and kind of being held back by the way I perceive things. This isn't a question that I have on here, but what do you think held you back the most in wanting to pursue that, and how did you overcome it?
Um, so I think there's three things that I can think of. One being comparing myself to others. I always did that. People and like artists, like I used to just look at all these amazing artists and be like, these people made it because they're insanely talented. I'm not that good, you know, or even just being scared of the fact of choosing the non-traditional path and what people would think of that. You know, I still to this day, people are like, you majored in art?
Mm-hmm.
Like you poor thing. Like you know. So like I kind of let all of that go. And then obviously, you know, you still work at it every day, but a majority I've let go. And then, oh crap. Um, um, so much running through my head. I think, so letting go of people's expectations and everything. And then, I'm sorry, can you repeat what was the question? I went down a trail.
It's all good. I was so wrapped up in listening that I got to think about what the question was myself now. What do you felt held you back from those things, and how did you overcome being held back, like to step into your ability to create and do what you're doing now to pursue it?
Right. Yeah, I guess the self-awareness, like being aware of how I was comparing myself to other people and like outside forces. And then once I had that awareness, I could say, why are you feeling this way? And then working towards getting rid of that, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So yeah.
Now, self-awareness is so crucial. That's one of the things that I've had to learn. Introspective thought, and being able to sit and look at a thought and be like, not judge it and be like, this is a bad thought, this is a good thought. It's how does this benefit me? Like, how does this thought impact me? How does this way that I perceive this situation impact me? One of the things that I like that you said too is that, like, you talked about it, overcoming that kind of stuff being like a daily process. Like, it's not a one and done.
Right.
I can relate to that so much. And I think that there's a good correlation to art in there too. Art to me isn't one painting. Like, if I do one painting, that might be one individual representation of art, but it's a process. And that process from that one painting carries on into the next one too, even if they're not connected, in the sense that that previous work builds upon the next one. And I think that that's true with life as well.
Yeah, I actually remember the two other things, and you were responsible for actually letting me realize this, and I told you about it. I was scared of the fact of failing, but I was also scared of the fact of succeeding.
That's
You
such a
know,
great
and
thing.
that is so crazy to me, and I didn't realize that until I watched one of your podcasts, and I was like, wow, I am scared of succeeding. Like, that's messed up. Like, I need to work on that, you know? So I had to identify, why am I scared of succeeding? Why am I scared of failing? And go through all of those factors and work on those consciously every day. So
I'm grateful I could play a part in that. And that's such a precarious place to be, where it's like, I don't want to fail and I don't want to succeed. It's like, what the hell do I do then?
No sense.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. When I realized about myself, I was like, how am I supposed